to be a really good player in the NBA now. He needs to be a real good shooter. And like, he went from a non-shooter last year to a 41% three-point shooter, a guy who's scoring and shooting, off the dribble with confidence, step backs. Now we saw that against the Mavericks Sunday night, spotting up. Like, I could not have foreseen that coming into this season. And I think that opens up the rest of his game too. Obviously the passing has been great. It's, he's not passing and racking up assists like he did earlier in the season, but I think that's as much a function of the offense and what defense are trying to get him to do as anything. But to me, if he can maintain this level of shooting, he can maintain being an efficient, and that's the most important word, an efficient 23-point scorer. Because last year he averaged 20, and I don't think anyone would say it was in a way that made the Knicks better all the time.
I think I've turned around completely on him. I thought what he was last year was a numbers compiler who didn't play the game the way you would think Thibodeau would want it played. I think now they have to consider him as a long-term piece here. When you chase free agents, you look at all of the free agents who opted out of the market and instead took their extensions. It's not a great class. I don't see where you're finding guys that maybe fit better with Thibodeau than what you have right now. I don't think you're getting Kawhi Leonard. So I think he's become a long-term piece here.
You can also include him in a trade. There's a lot
that
of
to me is the big question. Like, what? Because he's on a great contract now based on the way he's playing, partially guaranteed for next year. So he's like you're one of your most valuable trade pieces in a big trade where you have to match salaries. I mean, is there an offer out there? Like, what kind of offers would you entertain for Randle at this trade deadline?
I mean, you need a star player back. There's no question about it. I think the Knicks should pounce on an opportunity when it arises, because you don't get star players available very often. As great as Julius Randle is playing this season, I don't think he's a number one on a top 4 team in the conference, for instance. And I think that's what the Knicks should be gunning for. So if the right opportunity arises, I would include him in a trade.
I think what we were saying there is because of his contract and the way he's producing, he is a hugely valuable asset around the league. He's not overpaid. He's got an out after next year if you want to pick up next year's option. So it's not a long-term deal right now. I mean, could I see him as a piece of, maybe paired with some of these other assets, another young player, or a pick for a Karl Anthony Towns? If Thibodeau wanted to go with him, you could absolutely see something like that. And I think that's a reasonable offer for Minnesota.
I don't know if Minnesota would ever make Karl Anthony Towns available, but as bad as things ended for Thibodeau in Minnesota, I've heard that he'd be open to Karl Anthony Towns again because Thibodeau just wants to win, and he thinks Karl Anthony Towns will help him to that end. So I know that Karl Anthony Towns is somebody that's actually been reported before that the Knicks are monitoring as well.